whose names I've never seen before here. It's so great. I mean, I do always love my repeats. Like all you who've been here before, y'all know I love you too. Shanita and all of you. It's so good to see you all again. What I want you to continue what you've been doing in the chat. You all are saying hi to each other and all that jazz. But I want you guys to give me the thing that I always ask for. So I'll ask for it formally at this point. If everyone could in the chat tell me who you are, where you are, and what your business is. So, just give me a bit of an idea of who you are and where you are so that I can just be nosy and know. But then also I want to know about your business because I pride myself on being able to integrate your businesses with the workshop. So whatever you're doing, and anyone who's been here before knows that when I say I do that, I really do mean it. So if you tell me who you are and what your business is, that'll actually make it a lot easier for me to be able to give you like reasonable, good advice and all that. So go ahead and put all that stuff in the chat. I have the chat open on my one screen and I got you guys open here. So give me all this information. It'll make it a ton easier for me to make sure that I am tailoring the content to you. With that, let me go ahead and share my screen so that we can start talking about using a professional domain, website, and email for your business. This is a fantastic topic. I'm super excited about bringing it to you, mostly because when I first started my business, in 2009, 2009, something like that. Back in the bad old days of the internet, it really wasn't that easy to get a domain. Like it wasn't that easy to figure out email. Oh my goodness, email was horribly not easy to do. And so we've come a long way and there's a lot of tools that are available to us for free. And I'm going to give you guys a ton of like crazy actionable tips because that's how I like to roll. I don't want to just give you guys information. I want to give you guys information you can use. There's someone who has a matchmaking service. Is that like a romantic matchmaking service? Because I'm engaged. I'm getting married in like a month and 2 months now, I guess. Almost, oh my goodness, like tomorrow will be exactly 2 months. And I could have used some help because it took me forever to find him. So, hey y'all, I wouldn't say for everyone who is like, why is this person talking to us? Like we know who she is. I wouldn't say, hi, I am your Grow with Google digital coach. No matter where you are in the world right now, I am your personal Grow with Google digital coach, but I am also the official Grow with Google digital coach for the entire state of Ohio. And as a digital coach, my job is to help you to gain more skills, improve your skills, and apply those skills because I have no desire for us to just be doing stuff to be doing it. So we are out here applying the skills that we are learning. And I'm going to show you guys lots and lots of application, okay? All about the application, how to get stuff done, how to actually apply this stuff. So that said, let's jump right on into it. One of the things that people always, and thank you all for your congrats. That's lovely. But did you hear the part where we were struggling? I struggled to get that man. Not him in particular. Once I found him, it was easy. But finding, good Lord, y'all, finding a credible human sometimes is hard. Just like finding a credible business is hard. So when you have an actual domain that is www. whatever the name of your business is.com. I'm trying to look and see what some of your business names are. And a lot of you put in your business, but you didn't put in your name. So we got Integrity Consult. We've got Ohio Kidney Advocacy. So you guys got a lot of your business names in here. The ability to have that .com is so useful for your business. It is really actually useful because it does add a level of credibility. Now, back in the old days, like I was saying about the internet, back in the old days of the internet, it was the wild, wild west. We all just had whatever we had and we had to deal with it. But nowadays, you actually have the ability to have something that is more substantial and more useful to you. And the reason why you want to do that more than anything is because scammers and spammers have multiplied along with the internet. So every single one of us has gotten emails from something that looked like PayPal that wasn't. We've all gotten emails from things that look like Chase Bank, but it wasn't. We've all gotten these types of things. And it's because with the ability for us all to get some sort of domain access, that includes the ability for people who are scammers and spammers to get domain access, which means that those of us who are running credible businesses really need to get our businesses a real domain so that we are not out in these internet streets having people going to websites that don't look credible. That's the main thing. We really want people to go to a website that looks and feels credible, because if they do, it makes it so much more likely that they are going to buy from us. And of course, the bonus is once you actually get that domain, that .com, it comes with the ability for you to have an email address as well. And even though we're talking about Google, products, I'm not here advocating in particular for you to use Google Workspace, which is a paid product. I'm going to show you how to do almost all of this stuff for free. The domain is going to cost you something, but everything else is going to be relatively free. So that's my gig here. I'm always trying to help everyone, especially us small businesses who are just starting out. I want all of you to have as much as humanly possible free tools to get you started, because I know how expensive it was for me to start my business. So what is a domain? First things first, what's a domain? How do you register them? How do you build a website? How do you get your email set up? We're going to walk through all of those things. For everyone in here, if you are at the beginning, I am going to help you out. Do I have someone in here from New Orleans right now? That's so exciting. I love it when you guys from all over the place. So what is a domain name? Your domain essentially is the address for your business on the internet. So like your street address is your address in the real world, your domain is your address in the internet. It is how people can visit your website. Now, how do people usually use your domain? They can use it in a bunch of different ways. They can type it directly into the search bar and go to your website. They can search for your website using your business name and then find your domain. Or they can get a link from you somewhere like on social media or something like that, and then find your website. So there's a bunch of different ways that people can actually access that domain. But the domain itself is basically your way of telling the internet where your business lives, okay? It's where it lives inside of the internet. The URL is the domain name, essentially. It is the complete total name of it, including the HTTP or HTTPS. That's your URL. The domain is the stuff that comes after the www. The www.statiusbakery.com, or like some of you, www.centerofattentioneventsllc.net. So for Lakeisha, that is her domain. The words after the www is the domain. And then the website itself is the thing that happens once you actually type in the URL and you type in the domain, then you have the website. So that is how they are all connected. They are not the same, but they are all connected. They're all heavily, heavily connected. Okay. So that is what we want to be thinking about, is that these things are not the same, but they are all connected. Okay. Why do you need to register any of this stuff? Why do you need to have a domain? First of all, for search. If you have a domain name that is like Lakeisha, Center of Attention Events, LLC, that makes it a lot easier for people to find your business when they go to search for you, because often we are competing with a bunch of other event designers. So I'm assuming that Lakeisha is an event coordinator. And if you are an event coordinator, there are lots and lots of event coordinators out there. And if you want to get found, then you might want to have a domain that is associated with your business. It's also really good for brand building, because Lakeisha actually named her business Center of Attention. That is a really good name for a business about events. Like Center of Attention Events is a great name. And then having that URL that is Center of Attention Events is very, very good for making sure that you're building that brand and keeping a consistent theme from the name of your business to the URL that you have. It does increase people's perception of your professionalism. Y'all, I am not one of those people who is gatekeeping you from being a professional. There is no such thing as, if you don't have a perfect domain, you're not a professional. I don't believe in that kind of nonsense. That is not true. But the perception of your business being professional is true. So people will perceive you one way or another based on your domain. This does not mean that your business is not awesome and that you are not great and all of those things. It doesn't mean any of those things, but people will perceive you a certain way. And very unfortunately, perception for those people is their reality. They don't know that you're a reputable business. They don't know that. The only thing that they do know is what they can see. So I don't know if you guys were raised by parents who did that whole like dress how you want people to see you, because my mama did. And it's very true. As much as we should not be judging each other based solely on appearance, the first thing that you get from someone simply is appearance. And the same thing happens with your website. The first actual impression that people have of your website is not the website itself, but the web address that you're sending them to. It's amazing how that works. So before they ever land on your website, they either have to type in your domain or click on it somewhere. So the very, very first impression that people get is of that website address. And then lastly, having a registered domain gets you access to a lot of tools. Now, this is very, very true. If you don't have a registered domain, there are plenty of things that you simply won't be able to do. And I don't want us to be losing access to the ability to use tools and tips and all these things simply because we do not have a registered website. Google has plenty of free tools. I've actually done lots of workshops with SCORE about those free tools. We just did one earlier this month that was talking about all the tools that are available for your website. We're doing one at the end of March that's all about like making sure that your e-commerce store is up to date. All of those things are only available if you have a domain. If you have a www.yourbusinessname.com.net.something, if you have that, then you can access all the tools that we offer for free. But if you don't have a domain, you cannot often access those things. So getting that domain is very important. Now, the goal with naming your domain is not to be perfect, especially because I think it was Seth Godin, who's one of my favorite marketers. Basically, he said in a podcast once, every domain that is under 3 words is taken. And so a lot of you have really great business names, but if the name of your business is 3 words or fewer, and those words are common, then it is very likely that your business name has already been taken by somebody. That domain already exists. So let me ask you this. In the chat, for those of you who do have a domain or who have searched a domain, have you run into the domain that you were looking for being taken already? Go ahead and put a yes in the chat. If you tried to get a domain, but it was taken, oh, Vaughn, you were lucky. Okay, Felicia said yes. I can tell you yes for sure for me. I have absolutely run into, oh, I want this domain. This is a great domain. And then it was taken. And I'm like, what? So that drives me nuts when that happens. So one of the things that we want to do is not aim for perfection, because it is, oh yes, the .com, Claudia, that is definitely, the .com will be taken and you're like, what am I supposed to do? Something else. You just got to be creative. The average domain is basically, you know, what you're going for. You're not trying to be the most perfect version of reality yet. You just need to get something to make your business pull together and be a professional presence. That's it. Quick note, Sheila, email me. I need you to email me. I need to get some information from you. I just saw in the chat that my friend Sheila's here. So when you're looking for a consideration for your email or for your domain, one thing you want to do is keep it short. Now, I did not use Lakeisha on purpose earlier, but Lakeisha, good Lord, your domain is a perfect example of one that is not short. Center of Attention Events, LLC.net. That is a mouthful and a half. And the biggest reason to keep it short is because people are stupid. And you guys know I say that all the time, but I mean it. People are stupid and we cannot spell. And when I say we, I mean me. I'm dyslexic and I have very poor attention to detail. And so if you give me a very long domain name, the likelihood that I'm going to spell it wrong is very high. Very high. Matter of fact, you give me a short domain name and the likelihood I'm going to spell it wrong is very high. And so when you give someone a really long domain name, it makes it really difficult for them to spell it correctly every time. Now, the good thing is with the internet, you really only have to get it right once, and then Google will serve it up to you right every other time. But they do have to get it right that one time. And that's what's important. And on top of that, your email is going to be associated with this domain. And so if your email is associated with the domain, this could end up being a little bit of a problem. If you end up with, like me, I have a first name that is 7 letters. And so my first name takes up a big chunk of space if I am doing a first name email address. Now, if I add my last name, my first name, last name together, it's like 12 letters. And if I throw in my middle initial, which is how everybody knows me, Lindsay L. Sims, then it's another letter. It's a lot of letters. And then the name of my business is Predictable Results Marketing. Good Lord, I don't even want to know how many letters that is. It's crazy. And so because of that, I actually have 2 domains for my business. One that's the long spelled out version and one that's a shortened version, because I know that people are actually pretty bad at spelling. And when I say, again, people, I mean me. And so I did not want to, and anyone who has seen me type in the name of my business in a workshop, you have seen me misspell the name of my own business, not because I don't know how to spell, but because I'm dyslexic and dumb like everybody else. And so I'm like typing in the name of my own business wrong. And so you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best options for getting that name right the first time. So consider alternate endings. I am very, very proud of Lakeisha for the fact that she chose the .net. And for those of you who said the .com was taken, all that jazz, it's fine to choose an alternate ending. Alternate endings are not the end of the world. A lot of people get caught up if they can't get the .com for something. .com is not the end of the world. What I like to do, I'll give you guys all my little secrets. What I like to do is I like to get my, like, whatever the domain is going to be, and then get an alternate ending, and then just decide which of those 2 I'm going to use, instead of like, I actually kind of look for alternate endings sometimes, depending on the domain that I'm going to get. And you guys, you hear me talking about this, like I have a ton of domains. Y'all have a ton of domains. I am one of those domain purchasers. Like the second I get a business idea, I'm like, oh, I need that domain. Okay, I want you to tell me in the chat, are you one of those people? Anybody else out there? Every time you get a business idea, you're like, oh, I want that domain. You go buy it. Yes, okay, Terry. Thank you, Terry. I'm like, please don't let me be the only one who does that. You're going to see my Google account in a second. It's crazy. So keep it simple. So length. Short names are easier. Try not to exceed 2 or 3 words. Simple is better. Complicated, long spelled words, please don't do that as much as possible. So Stasia's Bakery. I love Stasia's Bakery as an example because the person who owns Stasia's Bakery, her name is actually Anastasia. Anastasia is an interesting word because people spell it all sorts of ways, but saying Stasia instead of Anastasia is actually really a good way to shorten it and make it something that is easy to remember. So making sure that when you are using it, whatever the domain is, that you've shortened it to something that is easy to remember and that has keywords that are associated with your brand, and that people will still recognize you and your business associated with that brand name. Okay. Oh, Felicia's like, no, I am new to this. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's okay, Felicia. I got you. So we're talking about all these things, keywords, brand elements, all of that stuff. But I also want you guys to remember, again, you can go beyond the .com. Matter of fact, I would highly encourage you to go well beyond the .com. So it's instead of just .com, you got .academe, you got .zone, you got .io, you got .co, you've got all sorts of alternate endings. And sometimes you can find an alternate ending that works perfectly for your business. And so instead of going with .com, maybe if you have a bakery, you can go with .bakery at the end instead of having your domain be stasiasbakery.com. It could be stasias.bakery. What about that? That's the kind of thing that we're talking about here. It actually makes it really cool because you have all sorts of opportunities. Now, how do we even do any of this? So back to Felicia, who was like, okay, Lakeisha, you knew I was coming back to you. So I'm glad you put in what you were thinking about. So when you are going to register a domain, you have to use some sort of domain registry. Why? Because domains are not yours. You don't buy a domain. Essentially, you're just renting it. So when it says register a domain via registrar, essentially it's just a rent a domain from a registrar, because you're never really purchasing it. All you're doing is saying, I want to lease this internet name for a period of time. And you can let it go if you never start that business that you had the idea for. You can let that domain go, which is what I end up doing. And then, or you can, keep it because you know that you're going to do a thing with it, even if you haven't done anything with it that first year. So you've got all these options. There's also plenty of domain registrars out there. Namecheap, GoDaddy, Domain. There's so many. I can't even think of all of them. There's so many domains. So many domain registries out there. But today, we are going to use my absolute favorite domain register, which is Google Domains. And no, Google Domains is not my favorite because Google paid me to say so. That is not true at all. It actually is my favorite domain registry for a variety of reasons, including the fact that it is super easy to use. Unlike some domain registries, Google's domain registry is actually really easy to use. So how do we get to the Google domain registry? We go to domains.google.com. If you've never been to domains.google.com, it'll like show you the logout page. Let me see if I can force it to give it to me. No, I'm logged in, so it won't give me anything other than my own page. Let me see if I can log out. Good Lord, if I log out, it's just going to log me into a different account. I have too many accounts. So anyway, I didn't even tell you my big cheat code. Whatever you're doing, make sure you know what email address you're using. So if you go to domains.google.com using your Gmail account, that is your personal private Gmail, that's great. That's cool. Love it. Absolutely fantastic. Just remember that that's the email that you're using so that when you go to find that domain later, you don't email me frantically going, Google erased all of my domains. Google did not erase all of your domains. And so what they did though, is that it's under a different email address because that's where you signed up. So make sure that you know where you signed up, what email address you're using, because you do need to be able to access this again, which requires you know what email address you're using. So when you go to Google Domains, if you don't have any domains at all, you're going to basically show up here, which is to discover a brand new domain name. Why is Google my favorite? It's my favorite for a few reasons. The first of which is that it is relatively affordable. Like from my experience so far, every domain that I have tried to search for in Google Domains has been cheaper than other places. And domains are not that expensive to start with. Okay. Okay, Lakeisha, I'm glad at least you're paying attention. That's what's important. But domains are not expensive to start with. If you're just getting a domain for your main business name, not that big a deal, won't be that expensive. It is only expensive if you're trying to buy a single word domain. Let me give you an example. So I know there's at least one bakery in here. I've already saw the name of a bakery. So I'm going to use cupcake.com. So when you type in something like cupcake.com, you see here that cupcake.net and cupcake.store are both available for $10,000 or for $5,400. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger. For those of you who are like, what? $10,000 for cupcake.net or $5,400 for cupcake.store. Why? Because the word cupcake is extremely common. It's a single word, very easy to remember and use. And if you were trying to corner the market on cupcake baking and selling or recipes or whatever, this is a great domain. Cupcake.store. You could name your business the Cupcake Store and have cupcake.store and be like gangbusters because the internet would find you so easily. That's why it's so expensive. So just simply put, don't name your business something like Cupcake. Don't name your website something like Cupcake, because then you'll never be able to get the domain. It'll be way too expensive. So that's what we mean by like, it doesn't have to be expensive. It can actually be affordable, but it's going to depend a lot on how you get creative with that name so that you are, doing things that make sense for you. So what are the biggest benefits of Google domains? Well, privacy. First of all, Google's privacy settings on their main domains without you having to purchase anything extra are very good. Like they're better than standard privacy settings for free. So if you go with GoDaddy or any of these other places, a lot of them are going to charge you a premium per year to actually not disclose your information to anyone who is out there in the internet who wants to have it. And Google automatically sets it so that it's not disclosed. You have to approve them disclosing that information with like very easily. You would have to do it, but they don't default it that way. It's defaulted so that you are not sharing your private information. And I personally love that. Domain forwarding and domain setting up like your domains and all done domain forwarding, domain switching, all of that is extremely easy with Google Domains. Security. Now that's another great one. Oh, Terry, good question. I can answer that question for hours. Security. Google Domains is like every other Google property. Google puts security first. Security and privacy are like the two hallmarks of Google. And so it is absolutely one of the most secure domains that you're going to be able to buy. And then clear pricing. This is what I love about Google Domains as well. You see here, $12 a year. So if you did pay the 10 grand to get cupcake.net, your ongoing price for it would only be $12 a year. Very clear pricing, easy to understand, easy to use. And if you bought it, you could sell it at that, whatever price you want because you would own it to sell. Like you would be leasing it. It's like leasing a car. Like I said, it's more like leasing than owning. So you would be leasing it. And since you were the one holding that lease for that period of time, if you decide that you want to get rid of it and sell it, you can actually sell it instead of like letting it revert back. If it is worth money, it is always worth trying to sell. So Terry is asking a question in the chat about all these different options and Bluehost as one of the options. Bluehost is a hosting company that also allows you to buy domains and all sorts of other things. One of the things about Bluehost is though, Bluehost is very useful if you are going to do something like build out a very robust WordPress website from scratch using some sort of WordPress designer and developer. Bluehost is not for you, regular everyday person. It just isn't. And the reason why I say that is not because I don't believe in your skills. I just am telling most people who have WordPress websites have no idea how complicated it is going to be to maintain that website over time. You are going to have to pay a professional to maintain that for you. No matter what, it's going to cost you something more and more in the end. I am a proponent of using self-hosted websites like Wix or Shopify or Squarespace or any of those other types of websites. I would highly prefer you use any of them over using Bluehost and WordPress, which is what you would need to use Bluehost for. Don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not worth your time. Yes, Sheila. She knows. I know. We have all of us who've been in the internet streets for a decade, we know how bad it is. It has not gotten better. I had a client whose website got hacked and they had to do an entire redesign of the entire website. And this was last year. It was not 20 years ago or 15 years ago. And it's a WordPress site hosted with Bluehost. Just having Bluehost does not make you impervious. It just is what it is. So don't worry about it. Do something else. Like Wix is great. Squarespace. Like there's so many EasyWid. There's so many great website builders out there now. You don't have to go with, WordPress and Bluehost. Now, I did mention a bunch of these places like Wix and Shopify. All of them have the ability for you to buy a domain with them, or they'll give you a domain. Wix is real good about that. We'll give you a domain for free. So remember when we talked about clear pricing? Wix is going to give you that domain for free on the first year. And then the next year, when you go to renew it, it's going to be $60. And then the next year, it might be 70 and then 80. It literally, they just increase the price of the domain rental every year until you want to cry. And so what I have done with all the Wix ones that I bought, because I actually did buy domains on Wix before I got hip to the fact that they did this, I transferred them all to Google Domains so that they're actually, now they're hosted. Those domains are hosted by Google instead of being hosted by Wix. And when I go to renew them, they renew with Google instead of renewing with Wix. And it was a matter of clicking a couple of buttons to get that website, to get that domain transferred. My website is still on Wix. I still have a Wix website which I love Wix for websites. They're really good, very easy, simple websites. I also love Shopify for the same thing. Same thing with Shopify. They will let you do it. They will let you get a domain from them, but you can get it from them and then transfer it over to Google with a couple of clicks. GoDaddy, oh Jesus. So I have had GoDaddy websites in the past, GoDaddy hosting. I've done GoDaddy WordPress hosting. I've done GoDaddy domains that I purchased, all that jazz. It's a holy mess. GoDaddy is great, but they're super inconsistent. How about that? Google is not inconsistent. I'll leave it at that. GoDaddy is not bad. It's just inconsistent. Very, very inconsistent. So first things first, you guys are going to go to domains.google, period. Just domains.google. You don't even have to type in the .com. Google knows its own website. So you just go to domains.google and you will end up where you see me over here, which is domains.google.com, and you will get the ability to search a domain. So first tip before you start. So I know who was it? Felicia, who's like, I've not even begun the process. Before you start searching domains, make a list and be ready to buy, because even though Google Domains is actually very secure, and I have not had this happen, what I'm about to say, I have not had happen with Google. I have had it happen so many other times with GoDaddy and with Wix and with Shopify. All three of these sites have done this. And so I'm going to tell you, not all site searches are secure, which means that with GoDaddy, if you search a domain, so I'm looking at some of your businesses right now. So if you are Sweeties, Sheroes, and Heroes, and you want to have your website be Sweeties, S&H, like let's say you want to go with that, Sweeties, Heroes, or something like that, right? You want it to be simple. You go and you start searching on GoDaddy. As soon as you walk away from that search, the second you walk away from that search, if you don't purchase within 24 hours, someone will have bought that domain. And when you go back, that domain will now be 2 to 3 times to 4 times as much money. It is so obnoxious. And so even if you plan to buy the domain somewhere else, what I want you to do is go on Google Domains to search the domain so that you can actually see what's available without the search being spoofed and those domains disappearing. I have actually had a domain sitting in the Google Domains shopping cart that I was looking at for like a week, and it didn't go anywhere. It was still available for me to purchase. But if I had done that in GoDaddy, it would have been gone the next day. It would have not been available within hours. And so because those searches are not private, people can actually see the domains that are being searched. There are people whose entire internet job is to look for domains that people are trying to buy them first, and then sell them to them like extortion rates. So you do not want to play that game. If you do your searches via Google, you don't have to worry about that. So use Google Domains. Even if you don't plan to buy it with Google, use the domain with Google Domains to search so that you don't have to worry about your domain getting swooped out from under you. Okay. I told y'all I was going to give you tips. I am going to give you tips. So once you've decided on the domain that you want, you're going to add it to your shopping cart. It's very easy to do. So let's go back over here with this cupcake example. So let's pretend that I want to look at one of these cheaper ones, like Cupcake Games or Cupcake Wine. There's some in here that are not bad at all. Cupcake Studio. So maybe you have a business where you are actually a studio, like a photography or videography studio, and you want to name it Cupcake because that's like your nickname or something. Cupcake Studio is only $20 a year. That's great. So you could just add it to your cart. And when you add it to your cart, it's just sitting right here waiting for you. Now, because I'm a little bit of a crazy person, I love to add all the ones that I'm thinking about to my cart. So what is this? Cupcake Cake. Oh, I like that. Cupcake Cake. It's aftermarket, means that someone else already owns this and they're selling it. That's the opportunity here. There's a few of these Cupcakes with an S bar. I like that one. Cupcake Party, Cupcake Kitchen. I like that, but there's an S there. I always like to see what the modification is. So they added an S, they added, this little information, the cupcake.us, Cupcakes Cafe. There's some really, really good ones in here. So when we talk about the idea of having something other than a .com. There are so many things other than a .com and a .net. Me, myself personally, I am weird. I guess because I am old enough to remember the old internet. I'm not a huge fan of .net. I don't know why. I feel like a lot of the old .net websites were just like scammy websites, and that's the reason why I don't like .net. That does not mean anything for you. If you don't have that same emotional block, do not stop yourself from buying .net. But me, myself personally, I would rather just buy like cupcakes.wine or something else that's more related to my business than the .net, because I just get those like spammy, scammy vibes, right? Now, I have here cupcake.com and they're giving me suggested names. I could come over here to all endings and it's going to go down every variation of cupcake that is available. Everything, cupcake.run. These are things, cupcake.chat. It's going to give me all of the options for cupcake. This over here, the other version was just like the ones that it thought were the cutest, most useful to you. And so you can actually take that and go a step further and look at all of the domains, all of them. Okay. Look, Mary is out here going, look, let me see if I can purchase this other domain. First of all, unless you got a cupcake business, ignore the example that I've given. Okay. Like I know these are really sexy domains. You're like, maybe I should start a cupcake business since this cupcake.studio is available. You guys, I'm not here to give you ideas. I'm just showing you how the software works, okay? Just showing you how the software works. So when you go to check out, again, it's very, very simple process. I click on the little cart here and it tells me privacy protection is on, auto renew is on. You can also click that off. So if you don't have your Cupcake Studio idea really solid yet, and you're not sure you want to keep this domain going forever, you can just turn it to renew off. Google is going to send you like 16 emails before this domain goes away, before the registration expires. They don't let it expire out from under you. So, which is the reason why I said, if you're like, but Google stole my domain, they didn't do that. You just have it under a different email address, because they literally send you emails like up to like 2 months before your domain expires. They start sending you emails and you get them like progressively sooner, like more and more of them as you get closer to that domain expiring. They just want to make sure that you are actually sure you want to get rid of that domain. So if you do click auto renew off, that's fine. And they will just remind you when it is time for it to come up. You have the ability to add your custom email right here with Google Workspace. I'm going to give you a cheat code for that in a second. So yes, you can sign up for Google Workspace. Me, myself personally, I have been a Google Workspace user since before it was called Google Workspace. I love Google Workspace. I use it for everything. I have like all of my employees on Google Workspace. Everybody, it's great. Fantastic. So you don't have to do that though. If you don't want to do Google Workspace, you don't want to pay that $12 per user, that's on you. It is not a big deal. You can still run a very reputable business. And I will show you how to get your email address, even if you don't use Google Workspace, because you do not have to use Google Workspace in order to get that email. So do today, $20. Checkout process, simple. You hit the checkout button. It goes through the little like contact information. That's my business address. Review your purchase. How do you want to pay for it? Buy. That's it. Very transparent. So remember earlier when I said the entire process is very transparent, it is very transparent. Other places try to upsell you. They have 18 other things that happen between when you put that thing in your shopping cart and you check out. Google doesn't do that. They're not trying to sell you anything. If you want Google Workspace, yes, great. But as you notice, the little box for Google Workspace was not checked automatically. You have to check it. You have to decide that you want it and tell them that you want it. And that's when you're going to get the option to buy. Very, very easy, very transparent purchase. Now, if you have a domain that is on GoDaddy or Wix, and now you're like, holy crap, I need to get my stuff off of GoDaddy. And yes, GoDaddy be trying to upsell you every 20 seconds. So you want to get your website off of those. All you have to do is transfer a domain you already own. You can actually start that process inside of Google Domains. So let me see if I can go into transfer. enter the domain that you want to transfer, and it will start the process for you. It's actually really cool. It'll tell you exactly what you need to do, what the steps are. I don't have any that are living outside of Google Domains anymore, so I can't give you an example of that. But if you typed in a domain that you wanted to transfer, it would even tell you, it looks like this is hosted by GoDaddy, and it would give you all the information that you would need in order to go over to GoDaddy, put your settings in properly for GoDaddy, and then transfer that domain over. It is really, really simple. And yes, you can do it even if you have a website active on that domain right now. So I transferred over a website domain from a website that is currently live on the internet, and I just didn't want that website to be with GoDaddy anymore. It was GoDaddy. I didn't want it to be with GoDaddy anymore, so I just transferred it over to Google Domains actually at the time. And that's, again, totally legit, something that you can do. So you don't have to worry about, like, if I go to transfer it, is it going to close down my website? It'll let you know what the process is, and if there's anything you should expect with your website going down, it'll let you know that during the transfer process. So what to do if your domain name is already taken? Now, this is where the little special Lindsay information comes into play. So first of all, make small changes. Make small changes that don't include misspellings, right? So if we go back to Lakeisha as an example, she wouldn't want to do something like purposefully misspell the name of her business or something like that. You don't want to do anything like that, because then people just don't even understand what's going on. Make a small change, but something that is not a misspelling, or come up with something new. And I'm actually a pretty big fan of coming up with something new, because it is really good to have your brand name and your domain name match as much as possible. So for me, the name of my business is Predictable Results Marketing. Predictable Results Marketing, as I have mentioned, is a very long title. And I knew that it was going to be super complicated for people to remember. So instead of me like trying to make it short, but like predict results market, because that doesn't sound good or look good actually, and it's still long. I went with PRM, which is Predictable Results Marketing, PRMResults.com. That was available. It was great, easy to remember. And occasionally people go, what's the name of your business again? And I'm like, it's Predictable Results Marketing. And then they're like, what's your domain? I'm like, PRM Results. And as soon as I say them together, people are like, oh, that makes complete sense. So you can combine an acronym with the letters, like with a word from your brand, but some kind of way making sure that your brand is still being represented in that domain. And by the way, I do own predictableresultsmarketing.com. So I own the whole long domain, and I just redirected it to PRM Results, which is the main domain for the website. I own that domain. I also have that email address so that if anyone ever typed in Lindsay@predictableresultsmarketing.com, because they had nothing better to do than spell out all of those letters, I still get those emails. I get both emails from either the short version or the long version, just in case, okay? So I am a huge fan of doing both, starting the way that makes most sense for you. Now, the activity for today is to start searching. Now, remember, you guys got the confirmation from the other people on the chat. Don't search somewhere other than Google Domains, because your domain will disappear and you will be sad. So don't search anywhere else. And Vaughn, there are zero costs associated with transferring a domain, except for that when you go to rehost, it is going to be a new fee. So yes, there's a cost associated with it. I don't think it usually happens at the immediate, like when you transfer it. So it happens later when you renew. It doesn't happen immediately. And with Google, again, it's super transparent. So even when you do transfer, it'll let you know, like, and let you know if there is cost. There shouldn't be. Okay. So building a website. I don't really want to go into building websites yet, because I want to give you a couple of really good cheater examples of how I use domain searches. Like, there's so many cool things that you can do. So let's look at that cupcake example. So I typed in cupcake.com and it was taken. And now if I look at all the variations, a lot of what I will do to see what kind of variations I should make, those things happen inside of the URL bar. So I'm going to type in cupcake.com and hit search. Now, the website for cupcake.com is where physical meets digital, a simple solution for Web3 frictionless branding. This is crazy. This is a website that has nothing to do with anything. It looks like it's a company that's all about e-commerce, which is literally what this looks like. Trusted by the world's most popular brands. Go them. This doesn't have anything to do with cupcakes. Why did I look this up? I looked it up because if I'm actually selling cupcakes and cupcake.com doesn't have anything to do with cupcakes, go me. That's great. That means that now when I type in cupcake.com and I get all those variations, I can actually start looking seriously at these variations because I know that the main cupcake.com is not a competing bakery. So what I always like to do, if you go and you look up something and the words are gone, you don't want to just go immediately to searching the next best option because you might end up with getting way too close to some business that's very similar to yours. And the last thing you need is to have your website domain and the domain of some other business be very similar if you guys do the exact same thing. So you don't want that. So that's when it's like, oh, maybe I need to do something different. Maybe I need to change things up. So that's the big trick there is type it into the domain, search. If it's available, great, buy it. If it's not available, look it up. Actually see if it is a similar business or if it's far enough away to where it's a variation, a very similar variation will still get you the brand recognition you want without you having to go into direct competition with a business that has a similar brand name, a similar URL, and sells a similar product. Okay, so avoid that at all costs. Just literally rename your business if you have to. Do not go into business with a similar name, a similar everything else with another business that has this. Oh, goodness gracious, it's a horrible idea. I'll give you a very real example of a situation where this was the case. I am going to go to Daisy Cakes. Daisy Cakes from Shark Tank. Daisy Cakes is a Shark Tank business. They were actually on Shark Tank forever ago. They were one of the first businesses on Shark Tank. And the name of their URL is ilovedaisycakes.com. Likely because at the time that they went to buy daisycakes.com, it was not available. So instead they said, ilovedaisycakes.com. And then they moved on with their lives because they were funded by Damon and they have plenty of money to do lots of other things. So they're out here living their best life. And at the same time, here in Northeast Ohio, a young math teacher has decided that she is going to start a cake pop business named after her daughter. And that cake pop business was named Daisy Cake. Not from Shark Tank. And if you see here, the first thing that comes up in search is Daisy Cake Cake Pops. Why? Because even though I Love Daisy Cakes came first, Daisy Cakes Cake Pop became a huge sensation and ended up kind of taking the internet by storm and became the most popular search for the term Daisy Cakes. Now, the woman who owns Daisy Cakes here in Northeast Ohio, she was very fortunately in a program that I work with. And I immediately was like, ma'am, you need to change the name of your business. And she was like, but it's trademarked. So her company actually owns the trademark for the name Daisy Cakes. They own the right to use the term Daisy Cakes. They own everything about Daisy Cakes. And I said to her, does it matter? Doesn't matter that you own it when the business that you are competing with sells actual cakes and you sell cake pops, they sell actual cakes and they were on Shark Tank. And I'm like, there's just too much leverage that those people have against you. Just change your name. Now, mind you, the people from Daisy Cakes were not legally coming after her. They don't care about her. This is not an issue. The women at I Love Daisy Cakes are happy with their domain. They are perfectly fine. But it was too similar. That was the problem. And she had the URL Daisy Cakes on lock, but it was too similar. So over the past, 2 years, she actually renamed her business to Daisy Pops. And now she has the corner market on the term Daisy Pops instead of Daisy Cakes, which works because this woman has a pun for everything pop related you can possibly think of. And it is amazing when you chat with her about anything. She's got a pop pun in a heartbeat. And she doesn't have to like worry about trying to do cake puns now because the name of her business is Daisy Pops. So this is what I mean by like, sometimes it's worth it to just change your business and get the other URL. She's still selling cake pops. That was always what she was doing. But instead of competing with a company that sells actual cakes, was established first, was on Shark Tank, all of these things, instead she just changed the name of her business because it was a smart business decision. Even though no one was telling her she had to, no one was legally coming after her. She owned the trademark for the name. All those things were in place, but it was still a better business decision to not compete on that name. So that's what I mean by like, this sort of thing can get a little complicated, and I don't want you to get too bogged down in those complications. So I said I don't want to really worry about the website thing. I'm not going to worry about the website thing. You can create a site using Google Sites. It's actually really easy. You can build a website based on a template and apply your domain that you created with Google Domains. Very simply, very, very simply. But before we get to any of that, you want an email address, because who cares if you have a website, you trying to sell something, you need to have an email address. One of the absolute best things about Google Domains is the fact that you can create up to 100 aliases very easily with your domains. So let me go in here and look up one of my domains, which is PRM Results. I have the lease on this domain until 2024. And yes, I will be renewing it. And when you see here, I have my Google workspace set up on this domain. So I get my emails at me, Lindsay, at PRM Results. But if you go over here to email, you have the ability to set up email forwarding up to 100 email addresses. This is the golden ticket. This is the golden ticket in a way that I don't even think you people understand. Mostly because even if you do use Google Workspace, you might hire a virtual assistant who does not need their own email address for your business. They don't need to pay for a user account for them. They have their own Gmail account. They're likely not going to be sending emails on your behalf. You just want people who are going to be in your company to be able to email to them using a professional email address. That is where this comes in very handy, because now if Sheila is going to be working as a contractor for your business, then you can just give her Sheila, and then you could even do like her whole last name at PRM Results, and then just send that email address to her existing email, like her existing email account. That is her Gmail or her professional email, any email account. She accepts it and you're good to go. It is amazing. And that way now you do not have to set up a separate Google Workspace account for her that you're going to pay $12 a month for if she's only going to be doing contract business for you for a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Like, you do not have to set up a whole other workspace account for her. So you come in here and you set up this alias and you're good to go. Now, what is the other cheat code here? If you guys can't see me, I am gesticulating wildly, because if you notice here, I have one that says Slack. I also have like PPLLC and Cincy MBA and all of these other email addresses that are specific to clients. And why do I have these? Well, because often I use a software or two to manage my client relationships. And often these software require you have a different email address for every single account that you manage, even if you can toggle back and forth between those accounts very easily. Now, I do digital marketing for a living. So for a lot of these people, I'm setting up Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts and all of these things. And me, myself personally, I do not need to be the one managing those accounts. They need to manage it, but I need to set it up. And so I will create an alias email address just to set that account up. So all of the account verification comes to me, all of that information comes directly to me. I set the account up, and then I change the email address in that account to their email. And now they own the account, and I have done my job, and I don't get all their emails anymore. It's amazing. And when you think, okay, but Lindsay, I'm not a digital marketer, believe me, if you use Slack or if you use Notion or if you use any of the software like that, or if you simply want to have multiple TikTok accounts for your business, you want to have a personal one, a business one, a sub business one, you can have multiple TikTok accounts now because you can just be like TikTok account number 1 at prmresults.com, because you don't have to have all of those email addresses now coming directly to your inbox. Now I do this, and as you see here, it says get results at prmresults.com. That's my info inbox. So not only do I set all of these email aliases up, I don't even have them coming to my personal Lindsay at PRM results email address, because goodness, then I have to actually look at those emails. Instead, I have them going to an info box where I never even see them until I go in like once a month and check all the emails and make sure there's no one in there actually emailing me for help. That's it. It's very simple. And this is something that is completely free. Once you buy the domain and once you lease your domain from Google, you have the ability to go into domains. When you're in your domains area, you click on the domain. So they go back out, because I think someone said, how did you get here? I just clicked on the domain itself and then went to email, and then went to forwarding. And it's very, very simple. And you can set this up for anyone. So again, if you have interns who are working with you, if you have any number of types of essentially situations where someone needs an email address that is a professional at yourdomain.com email address, you can set that up without using Google Workspace, and then they can just forward it to whatever email they actually use. And on top of that, it doesn't even have to be a Google email address. It can be a Microsoft Outlook email address that actually gets forwarded to. So it doesn't even have to be a Gmail account. That's another cheat code right there. So before I let you guys go, because it is already after 8 o'clock. I know it's 8 o'clock. I need to eat. You need to eat. I don't know. Y'all probably already eaten. The other thing that I will tell you that I have done is, if you ever use a URL shorteners or anything like that, and you don't want to use the generic bit.ly or whatever those other kind of domains are, you can actually purchase your own short URL. This is something that most people don't think to do, but I've done it and it works like a charm. And so you create your own little short URL. And then if you are using a URL shortener like Bitly, or there's so many out there, Shorby, there's so many URL shorteners. A lot of them, you can set up your own domain. And so when you give them your domain, now it's going to be your own custom URL that is being shortened. This is just taking everything to the next level, just a little bit, but it's something that it's going to cost you, what, 12 bucks a year? Not even. Some of these are not even $12. It's very inexpensive. And now you actually have that domain that you can, like, when you're sharing on social media, you can use your own short URL and it looks really cool, and it costs you $12. Like, $12 to look super cool. Okay. I think it's worth it. And mind you, when I say $12, I am legit saying $12. Like, I don't pay a lot of money for domains. It's not my thing. I'm never out here buying like a $400 domain. Please, I will change the entire name of my business in order to avoid that. But, I think the most I've ever paid for a domain was like 20 bucks. It's very inexpensive. There's no reason to pay more than that. Just keep it simple. Now, yes. Okay. So once you set up your domain, so we didn't go through any of this because it's not actually a part of the presentation, but once you buy your domain, I will go into one of these and actually show you what it looks like. So this domain here, 30dayfunnels.com, is actually set up on a Wix website. All you do is actually set up your DNS for Wix. So it's the default name servers. It's the name server that you want, that Wix tells you to set up the host for. It is very easy to use. It's in here. I can say manage my name servers. There we go. There's the Wix name servers. Wix tells you when you go to the Wix website and you say, I want to set up my own domain, it'll say, fine, go to your DNS and pop these 2 addresses in your name server. And it's like save and you're done. It's very simple. It's just these 2 little URLs and you save them and you're done. And then your website will be mapped to your domain. It is not difficult to do these things. It's very easy. There's usually a little wizard that walks you through the process so that you don't have to worry about, I didn't do it right. You don't have to go in and put in multiple codes and numbers and letters and all the fancy, you don't have to do none of that no more. It's usually pretty simple and straightforward. So that was a lot of information. Email aliases are your jam. They are the best thing ever. And then if you want to do Google Workspace, please do. I'm a huge fan. I have Google Workspace. I've had it for way, way longer than I've only been a Google Digital Coach since 2020. I've been using Google Workspace since 2015, maybe longer. Actually, maybe longer. Email is like the email is monthly. So if you're paying for Google Workspace, it is $12 per person per month. If you're doing the alias thing that I just showed you with the email, it's free. This is free. This email forwarding, that's completely free. So you don't have to pay anything for that at all. Okay. Recap. So then we can get out of here. You have the ability to have whatever domain name you want. You can choose according to availability, but also keep in mind all the stuff I said about competition. So you don't want to choose a domain name that's too close to a business that does a very similar thing. Okay. Avoid that at all costs. You can also set up a very good website at Google Domains. Like Google websites are actually really good. I promise you, they deliver a good website, and it's very easy to use, very easy to set up. And you can set up professional email addresses at the drop of a hat using forwarding or actually using Google Workspace. It's actually pretty easy. Once you're ready to go to the next level and actually do really good stuff with your website, get your website found, all of that, we have other workshops. I'm sure Anita will be happy to tell you about them because we do tons of other workshops about websites and SEO and all that jazz. But if you're just getting started, do not worry about Google Search Console yet. You don't need to worry about analytics yet. We can get you there, but I want you to, more than anything, just start worrying, just get the basics down, get that email address, get that domain, and then start learning more about growing your business and getting yourself established so that you can actually get people to find you. And then we can talk about optimization and all that jazz. Okay. And before you guys go, because I know you're going to start running away, in the chat, if you could tell me what you learned today. So what did you learn? What's something that you now know that you did not know before? I love getting that information from everyone in the chat. So in the chat, before you run away, what did you learn? What's something that you got out of this that you did not know before and now you know? Aliases. That's the thing everybody knows. Okay. And so if you want to learn more, again, head over to grow.google.com. It is one of my favorite websites forever and ever. Amen. It's great. If you want to give feedback, here's a QR code on the screen. I think that is it. You learn how to register a domain. That's great. Everything. The presentation was perfectly timed. Definitions. I love the definitions. Okay. And then you didn't even know about Google Domains. Like, I'm glad I introduced you to an entire thing that software that you didn't even know exist. So that's always useful. I love it. I love it. Okay. So as long as you guys are getting something out of it, then I feel like I've done my job, and I feel like you guys have learned a lot. I hope I answered most, if not all, of your questions, and maybe even answered some questions that you guys didn't even know you had. That's something I personally like doing, is answering questions you didn't know you had. So yeah, that's it. That's it for today. Anita.
Okay, well, thank you, Lindsay. I just remind people that we will be sending out the slides and a link to the recording. As also, we do send out a survey, probably go out tomorrow. So if you have any feedback that you want us to pass on to Lindsay, feel free to put that in our survey. So, and we appreciate your spending the time with us today. I hope you did learn something. I'm sure you did. And in any case, you will have the recording, so you'll have an opportunity to go back and look at what you can't remember. Look at it as many times as you need to get it right. So it's a great opportunity. Thank you very much, Lindsay. And we will see you again. And I hope we will see all of you again.